Talking Husky hoops on the Uconn Men's Basketball Coaches Show. Back to your host, Mike Crispino.
Mike's up, Mike.
And we're back live in Hartford at the Duncan Music Lounge with Coach Hurley. I'm Mike Crispino. Just wrapping up that Final Four run. You got by Gonzaga. That Miami game, that one worried me, I got to say. They got all these guys getting paid a lot of money, like $450,000 or something. A couple guys from Miami told me this. They fought over it. A couple guys said, I ain't staying unless I get what that guy got. And I'm thinking to myself, we are playing against a couple guys that are making a lot of dough doing this. And it feels like it's not the same game, but we were playing so well. I felt like we're going to handle this, but that was a good team.
Yeah, for them to beat Texas in that Elite Eight game and to get to Houston, like for them to beat Texas in that regional, in that game with the way Texas was playing, they were just really good offensively, and we played an incredible defense in that game. I think they were like top 3 in the country in offense, and we shut them down and got separation real quick. Hawk was feeling terrible. He was struggling physically going into that one. So, and we didn't get as much from him as we normally did, but Adama had his threes in the beginning of that game and did what great players do. Like, just when you make shots like that in the beginning of a game, I mean, you're playing in front of 75,000 people on that stage, you feel like a puppet, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and your best players got to make some plays early in the game just to get everyone to relax, and they did that.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't been in front of 75,000 basketball fans, it's outrageous. I'd never seen anything like it. It's bigger than life. It's bigger than anything I've ever been in. I don't know about you, but man, that's a way different environment than most of us face.
It's like being on a stage like this, but it just, I don't know how many people in here. There's like 74,970 more people, and that perception. And then you go and do your first couple of workouts there, and these guys they can't even dribble, and they're shooting, they're missing badly, because the depth perception in there. But they get enough time in there where they adjusted.
Yeah, at one point, I think in one of those practices, you had guys diving on the floor. You were talking about doing it, then you did it. Why'd you do that?
Our practices are different. We practice different. We hear it a lot when people come watch us, whether it's recruits or NBA people or media people. Our practices are they're intense, and they're fast-paced, and they're intense.
But you did that at a Final Four. That was kind of unusual, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, or I learned from my dad, is like practice settings, my job is to stress them out in practice, so that they're dealing with game type of pressure in practice. And then when I go to the game, I manage the game, and I try to build their confidence.
Yeah.
So practice, drive them, push them, get more out of them, stress them. Game night, if I'm yelling at the players on game night, like frantically, then I suck as a coach. I'm just yelling at the refs. Right. So when you see me, that's what I learned from my dad, and it was just like genius coaching in terms of the way he prepared his teams.
Yeah. So how hard is that for you to not go in that direction when game night comes? And we're going to be at Kansas this year, Gonzaga out in Seattle. There are going to be some hostile crowds.
Yeah, I think every year, just as you ask the players and the staff and yourself, to show growth, show improvement, be a better coach. I anticipate just being a much better coach this year and be able to control my emotions better, dial it up when I need it. But for the most part, show more willingness defensively to do some different things. It's like every offseason you're trying to add and get better.
Yeah, speaking of big environments, Uconn faces North Carolina at the Garden, Indiana, maybe Texas or Louisville in the next few weeks. How do you anticipate your young guys are going to deal with that? I mean, that's the world's most famous arena now.
Yeah, I mean, those are some big spots, but you got to bring in people with that good pedigree, that have good makeup and just are tough people and talented people. But there's no doubt we've got a lot of young guys in the rotation this year. There's going to be one's going to start, and then 2, maybe 3 will play. So, and that's not typical of a lot of teams in the country, minus, maybe a couple of the bigger places. But when people are talking about like Marquette right now, no one's talking about any freshmen. When
No.
people are talking about Creighton right now, no one's talking about any freshmen.
No.
When you're talking about, I guess, I don't know, Michigan State, there are some freshmen. So, that's always been my model, like attract young, talented players and use the portal when you need it and trust your player development.
I brought some reading material for you here. It's one of those preseason magazines. I'm looking down. I don't see Uconn in the top 10 here in this particular one.
Which one is that?
This is Lindy's. But I'm looking at.
That?
I don't know. I think you should put this in the locker room.
And who still even gets?
Who are those guys?
Too?
At least they got Klingon on it. They got Klingon there. But I read a bunch of these things, and I kept reading. I'm going page back. I'm paging back. I'm going, where the heck's Uconn?
With all due
National
respect.
champions here. Come on.
I mean, listen, with all due respect.
Yes.
Listen, the other coaches, for the most part, don't know what we have, and I don't really know what they have, nor do I really care what their team looks like right now, And when media people, national media people come to my practice, like I notice people, I use all of my senses. So they're not like watching my big guys and like studying our defensive integrity and our offensive execution. They're playing with their phone. They're not evaluating what our team looks like and studying it at the level that you need to make a real assessment. And so I laugh at it.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you handle that? Because I always get upset when I see, wait a minute, this team deserves more credit to start the season than this. But can you use that, I guess is my question.
It was overblown how much we talked about it internally last year, the fact that we weren't ranked. I might have mentioned it a couple of times, but if I have to use that to motivate you, then we're not going to be good enough to go where we need to go.
All right, answer that question. We'll be back. We'll take a look at and get a little analysis from Coach on the Big East. We just got some great teams in it. We'll be back in just a moment. The Uconn Men's Basketball Coaches Show with Dan Hurley on Learfield.